So ever since the Labour government got into power, landlords have been living in fear, and last week Labour made a massive move to justify some of that fear. They've changed the powers for councils to introduce selective licence without having to go to the central state to get permission for this. And at the same time, they've increased the fine from 30 up to £40,000. This has largely flown underneath the radar of mainstream media, but could this be the final straw that makes a lot more landlords exit the market? In this video, I'm going to explain to you why more landlords will leave the market because of selective license, why I've just sold this property partly for the reason of selective licensing, but also on the flip side, I'm going to share with you why I'm not selling all my properties, and in fact, I'm still buying at the moment. And hang around to the end, I'm going to show you exactly what plan I'm using in this sort of market to take advantage of this opportunity, because there is a big opportunity, even though this is a bit of a pain in the backside. So firstly, why did I sell, and why are many landlords selling at the moment? Was it just selective licensing? No, this is just another thing added to it. So look at property like Jenga, for example. So selective license didn't knock us over. Like, your property investments are a solid investment. That property I showed you a minute ago, at the start, I bought it in a really low value area. So already the fundamental and the foundations behind it wasn't the greatest. Then the tenant demand in the area is not great. The tenant quality is not great. So we was already starting on a rocky thing. But then we add to this section 24, which is the inability to offset your tax. So they've added this to this already unsturdy property deal, which makes it a little bit less more of an attractive and sturdy deal. Then they've added things like the reform bill. It's going to be harder to evict tenants, and in these sorts of areas that are already starting on a bad foundation anyway, makes these sort of deals even worse. Then there is inflation and mortgages going up. There is the cost of repairs going up. There is all of these other things that keep on happening in the private rented sectors that makes this a really wobbly and unstable deal. Yes, it's not falling over, but just the slightest little problem that comes in the future leaves this super vulnerable to more problems, and more problems result in less profit and you putting your hand in your pocket to support a portfolio, which is no fun, I can tell you. Now, on the flip side, these three properties I've just bought, I bought them all in a limited company. So the section 24 is there. They're all in areas that already got strong demand in, so we sturdy that up again. This is why it doesn't make it quite so bad. Obviously the interest rate's a little bit higher, but so the rent's gone up as well, so that sturdies that up if I can get that in here. Two of those deals are rented out to social housing providers, so I've got no voids, no maintenance, no repairs again, so that saves a problem on the increase of inflation. Not quite meant to happen, but you get the point. What I'm doing is I'm building back up a solid foundation of a portfolio. Certain properties in my portfolio, we're restructuring them in ways to make them more solid, and the ones that are not working, I am just selling at the moment. So what exactly is selective licensing? It is a promise from the central government to improve the quality of tenants, and it was originally intended in areas where the properties were in much more poor condition. But the reason so many people are getting a backlash on this and feel hard done by, like in all these articles, this new policy is kind of like Tinder, and bear with me with this. Do you know when you go, well, I don't know because I'm married, but a lot of you will know, it even happens on Facebook. You go on Tinder, you see a picture of a profile, and in real life they look very, very different. This selective license, what it's posing to do is very much like that. It's saying it's going to improve the standard of living for tenants, but the problem with this is they're charging a fee which is typically around £600 to £1,000 depending on what council this is in, and they're not even going to inspect the properties, and the landlords self-certify on these and fill it in their self and fill in the information. So it's literally just a money grabbing exercise. And then when you add this to the fact that on the reform bill, they're already building out a national landlord register to like dig out rogue landlords, this does really clearly demonstrate itself as a money grabbing exercise. It's not going to help tenants anymore. It's just going to put more money in councils' pockets. And with councils going bankrupt at an alarming rate and lots of them in lots of trouble, this move is now down to the councils to be able to say, hey, do we want to introduce selective license? In my area, that property I showed you was in an area where they're going to introduce it, but for the last years since this has been floating around, there's been massive pushbacks via lobbying, and they're getting pushed back and being put off because they had to get permission from the central government. Although they wanted it, the amount of lobbying and pushback they got was just stalling it and stalling it. But now they don't need that permission. Do you think that pushback is going to happen the same? In my opinion, no. One of the massive things that's not unclear about, I've spent hours of research on this, and I can't find, before it's just in problem areas, are they going to bring this selective licensing across all properties in all areas? I don't know the answer. If you do, put it in the comments. But I've got a sneaky suspicion with the councils under so much financial pressure, they are going to look at this as a potential money grab. And when you go onto the main website, it says the conditions apply for selective licensing. Selective licensing designation may be made if an area in which relates satisfaction one or more of the following conditions. The area is one or more experiencing low housing demand, a significant persistent problem causing antisocial behaviour, poor housing conditions, high levels of migration, high levels of deprivation, and high levels of crime. So basically, they're trying to improve these areas by making the landlords be responsible for the people that live there, which is just bonkers. The government should be responsible for that with the police and their systems. But either way, if it fell into these previously, that's why licensing, as I said, it's unclear if they're going to push this out to wider areas and just try and get this money grab or not. But you might be asking yourself, where is the opportunity in this? So there's a famous quote from Warren Buffett. He says, be greedy when people are fearful and fearful when people are greedy. Over the last few years, I've seen the best opportunity in buying deals than I've seen since 2009 when I started in this game. And it's a result of all the landlords exiting the market, in the negative media, people being fearful. Yes, there is a few more fundamentals you have to get in place to make sure your investments are solid, but ultimately this then wipes out a lot of the competition, so it makes it a much more of a less competitive market. So when you're operating in this less competitive market, you can just, as a result, get much better deals. And the game plan that we're really pushing ahead with is selling deals to investors. We've worked with the Dugards, with the Fontaines, multiple people. I've got an academy where we match you directly with investors, and we've sold lots of deals to those investors, and we're cranking up the deals I'm getting for myself. We're doing direct to vendor adverts, especially directing landlords, because a lot of landlords exit the market, so it's a great opportunity to buy these deals off market. And we sell these deals on for typically 4 or 5k. The whole premise behind what I've always done is I put that money towards then buying my own deposits in building out my own portfolio. Make sure you watch this video here if you want to learn how to do deal sourcing. Look in the description if you want to work with us and leverage my list of deal sources as well.